Rutherford, it's time for celebration music. Good, Rutherford. Good.
Donkey Kong Bonanza is here. It's out. It's real. It's a real video game sitting here on my Switch 2 even. It's waiting for me to open it. Twiddling its big old gorilla fingers, wondering when it's gonna be time. And you might be wondering, how is this guy making this video without having even started Donkey Kong Bonanza? This guy, me, who's been talking about this game for years now. It is, and I must say this again, Donkey Kong's time. So to prove my mettle, let's lock in this bet. There will be a new 3D Donkey Kong game within the first year of the Switch 2's launch. And by 3D, I mean you will rotate the camera with the right analog stick. Obviously, in April, when they are showing off the debut Switch games, it won't be Mario who is the 3D star. It will, of course,
Donkey
be
Kong? Yeah.
Donkey Kong. If the Switch 2 is really mostly just a bigger, high-resier Switch 1, Donkey Kong can save you. He is a bodacious original. He has survived the war zone of grabbing attention at arcades. He alone can make your hardware more exciting. 5 ways games will change in 5 years. Number 4, Donkey Kong is number 1 in the world again. Take a seat, Mario. The camera comes around behind Donkey Kong, and then we're just like, poof, poof, pounding the ground as we go. I just want to smash people with Donkey Kong's fists. I want to smash the people with those fists, you know? Anyway, if you were wondering about that bet I made, I did make good on it. I did purchase that Donkey Kong Lego set on the day of Bonanza's release. By the way, look what they did to me here. They say, spend 2 more cents to get free delivery. So I was looking for the cheapest stuff they had on the Lego store, which isn't obviously that cheap. A lot of keychains, it turns out, with popular characters on them. Like the we're all trying to find the guy who did this guy. In the end, of course, I had to go with my main man, Eeyore. Basically a free Eeyore keychain if you think about it. Incredible value. Worth noting there is another Donkey Kong set that's maybe a little cooler, a little more substantial. But the deal breaker there is how long they made Cranky Kong. You can't just do this. Anyway, the answer to that question I posed 20 minutes ago now is that we can make a video here talking about the path up to this point. The journey Donkey Kong had to take to build himself up to Bonanza time. Because there's nothing random about Donkey Kong's resurgence here. This is something that's been building for 43 years. And so what I've done is I have labeled what I believe are the 10 pivotal key points that have led to today. Donkey Kong's time. Now hold on, says the gaming historian. Donkey Kong came out in 1981. That's 44 years. What's going on here, Buster? Because 1981 was the release of Donkey Kong. It's Donkey Kong's first time, breakout star. However, inexplicably, 1 year later for the sequel, they put Donkey Kong in a cage. Pivotal moment number 1. Donkey Kong Jr., 1982. Yeah, Nintendo's first star got sidelined 1 year into his career. Apparently, you can learn in this book, Beyond Donkey Kong by Ken Horowitz, that the creation of Donkey Kong Jr. was necessary because they wanted to do the vine-grabbing gameplay, right? But they didn't want, Donkey Kong was too dang big. So they had to create a whole new character, Donkey Kong Jr. Fine, I guess, but they still wanted Donkey Kong on the screen for that recognition. And I mean, I think it could have just been a game about, Junior lashing out at his papa. But the solution they landed on was that Mario, by the way, Mario at this point, not Jumpman, Mario, captured Donkey Kong and imprisoned him. I can't imagine how humiliating that must have been for Donkey Kong. Replaced by Donkey Kong Jr., who, very clearly, has no charisma. 10 years later, Mario Kart used Donkey Kong Jr., pretty much that little boring gorilla's last major appearance. And I'm guessing it's a size thing again. You're like, look at Bowser over here. Bowser's in the game. I'm going to ask you to remember that at this point, Donkey Kong is 25 meters tall. Then Donkey Kong 3, he's a villain again. This stinks. Basically buried the franchise until Of course. Pivotal point number 2, Donkey Kong Country, 1994. It's a new era. And I feel like this opening tells you everything you need to know. Brilliant. DK's got a new look, starring in maybe the best looking video game you've ever seen at this point. The game's fun. He's a breakout star again. Donkey Kong back on top. Hold on, pivotal point number 3, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest, 1995. 1 year later, again, Donkey Kong gets captured. Again, Donkey Kong gets juniored. Again, major speed bump in DK's rise to power. Like, Donkey Kong Country 2 is not a bad game. It's a great game. But by the time we get to the cover of Donkey Kong Country 3, ew. You have to wonder who this franchise is even about anymore. Pivotal point number 4, Donkey Kong Country, the television series, 1997. As video game adaptations become so commercially viable that the Game Awards has to invent a special category just for them, the actual best adaptation of all time, the actual trailblazer, goes unrewarded. Donkey Kong Country, obviously. It's a series that's not only special for its innovative and awkward and uncanny live motion capture techniques.
In fact, it's real-time animation.
But every episode featured a song that's like kind of good.
Let me go back in my home. Without me, everything's all wrong.
Unfortunately, audiences weren't ready for such a thing. And to be honest with you, personally, I only became aware of it when they were running reruns on ABC Family.
It'll be a swinging good time, baby. Yeah! The Donkey Kong Country Marathon, part of Apes of Wrath, starts now on Fox Family Channel.
It's like Donkey Kong had a shot. This was his opportunity to become a transmedia icon, like Sonic the Hedgehog. When the series gets canceled, it appears as though Donkey Kong doesn't have that kind of star power. But how about this? Pivotal point number 5, Donkey Kong 64, 1999. Think about how good that sounds. Donkey Kong 64? This is gonna be his breakthrough moment. Mario got his 64. The Star Fox crew got their 64. Now we can definitely expect Donkey Kong to smash his way into next gen. It's about to be his time. And obviously that didn't quite happen. And there's probably a few reasons it didn't take off. One, it's late. 1999 is late. The Dreamcast came out in 1999. We're looking at PlayStation 2 screenshots. And meanwhile, Rare's coming out with this game where you gotta feed bananas to a hippo until it becomes heavy enough to weigh down the contraption that opens the boss door. The way the boss doors work in this game always makes it feel like a big deal. This? The big thing? So I actually played Donkey Kong 64 for the first time this year. And actually, truly, I think it's good. I think it's a good 3D platformer that's fun to play. However, I do feel there is one uncomfortable truth that many Donkey Kong fans are not willing to accept. Donkey Kong isn't really the leader of the bunch. He's kind of just part of the group. Just one of 5 Kongs you have to constantly swap through. Donkey Kong himself doesn't really do anything better than the other Kongs. They never turn to him when there's a complicated decision to make. So for that reason, and probably the other ones, I feel like Donkey Kong 64 did a lot of damage in Donkey Kong's progress towards becoming a main guy. Because for years after that, he never really gets the opportunity. You're thinking bongo controllers. On the GameCube, they made a whole peripheral just from Donkey Kong's aesthetic. But when that inevitably failed, for some reason that reflects poorly on Donkey Kong himself, like he's not marketable because of those bongos. While Donkey Kong would star in his own low-budget games here and there, I feel like primarily culturally he became a Mario Sports and Mario Party guy. Like Waluigi. When we get to the Wii, Donkey Kong Country Returns is good. It's basically bringing him up close to Kirby tier. Almost. And then, pivotal point number 6, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, 2014. Here, Donkey Kong stars in the only good game on Wii U. And, incidentally, the best 2D platformer of all time, and hasn't been topped in the 11 years since. Did it catapult Donkey Kong into the upper echelon of gaming stardom? No. This release was widely rejected for being not enough. I mean, you can scroll down in the comments right now. There's probably some blowhards even today still denying it. But you know what Tropical Freeze did garner over time? Eventually, street cred. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is essentially a street credibility savings account, where every year 3.5% of gaming YouTubers came to realize how great it actually is. And actually not that long after that pivotal point number 7, Super Mario Odyssey 2017. Now hold on, Donkey Kong isn't even in that game. He's not even present in New Donk City. But he is evoked. It's kind of like having a two broke girls reunion and Kat Dennings doesn't show up. Sure, that's a disappointment, but it's still an emotional event. In one of the greatest 3D sequences Nintendo has ever produced, it's clear as ever Donkey Kong is part of Nintendo history. And by the way, don't say 8-bit DK counts here. That's clearly some graffiti magic mimicking Donkey Kong. That's not him. We're on the rise. Pivotal point number 8, the Super Mario Bros. Movie 2023. Let's look at the poster for that. Who's that guy? I don't know, you might think that's natural, but a Mario movie didn't need Donkey Kong. He's not there in the Super Mario games, but he's all over that movie. Essential to the plot even. More importantly, essential to the trailers. Nintendo is clearly recognizing at this point DK has star power, and they're ready to invest. Pivotal point number 9, Donkey Kong Country, the real life place, 2024. So they announced there would be a Donkey Kong portion of Super Nintendo World, the part of Universal Studios, back in 2021. Kind of a weird thing to do, right? When even at that point, Tropical Freeze was still the most recent Donkey Kong game. You think wealthy children and adults are going to get that excited to explore that world? It was pretty much at that time I had mentally convinced myself that Nintendo was quite obviously developing a modern, full-budget, in-house 3D Donkey Kong game in conjunction with this whole chunk of theme park. You gotta back up all this with something. This stuff costs money. And of course, here we are. Pivotal point number 10, Donkey Kong Bonanza 2025. Donkey Kong's time. I mean, we'll see. I'm not sure that this game will experience the same kind of massive Switch surge that like Zelda had, that Animal Crossing had, but it's a game that I'm just glad to see exist. It's the biggest budget. It's the biggest spotlight Donkey Kong, gaming icon Donkey Kong, has had in his entire career. It's now. It's his moment right now. Haven't played it yet. I'll play it tomorrow. I'll catch up. We'll check in next week. And that's delayed input. And hey, I'll be doing a big charity stream this Saturday, July 19th, this year raising money for the United Nations Refugee Agency of Canada. It's going to be 12 hours of specifically beat-em-up arcade games playing with my longtime friend Dan, who incidentally is Canadian. And the gimmick for this is that every time we would continue in the games, we must donate $3 Canadian. It's a $3 arcade. That's all happening, of course, on twitch.tv/Kyle Bossman this Saturday, July 19th, 3 p.m. Eastern Time to 3 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, I will be back here next week. Until then, thanks for watching. Typically, when YouTube comments attempt to correct me, I just log into one of my alt accounts and type out "you're wrong." However, last week, I was wrong. So, when I was looking at Sega's recent financial reports, I came to the conclusion that Sega Corporate determined there's no room for new IP in their current plan. And comments rightfully said, okay, but what about Metaphor ReFantazio, bro? What about Stranger Than Heaven? How'd you forget about that? And Stranger Than Heaven, I'm genuinely looking forward to. And I must say, that truly was my failure. I got caught up in the pretty images, like the value maximization cycle. Because here's the thing, I forget that there's the way you run your business, the way you greenlight projects, and the message that you try to condense everything into, the story that you want to tell investors. I think it's illustrated well here looking at the growth of Sega's key pillars. The pillars here are a weird mix of gaming franchises and studios. So look at down here, Atlus includes both Persona and Megami Tensei series and Metaphor ReFantazio, and Like a Dragon includes the Judgment series. Which makes sense. But yeah, Atlus is a pillar all of its own. We got check, heavily rewarded ReFantazio, but even Unicorn Overlord, developed by Vanillaware, published by Atlus, owned by Sega, throw it in the pillar. Like a Dragon, also its own pillar. It does include Stranger Than Heaven, it's right there. Rovio, by the way, yeah, mostly still Angry Birds, but they're helping with the Sonic mobile game. And they're working on an original title. That could pan out. And I guess what's interesting about it all is that they're not quite wrong. Metaphor ReFantazio is an original IP, no question, but Atlus is the brand. Stranger Than Heaven, brand new franchise, but kind of looks like a Dragon game. But yeah, I do like this idea that these big time developers can actually create some original franchises if they kind of sneak it in, if they creatively reinterpret what the corporate mandate looks like. They can still make some new games, even if their studio is named after the franchise. Halo Studios, you should try this.